Chapter 4. The Western Desert. Let's learn Introduction. Climate of the region. Life in the region. And the development in the region. Introduction. The state of Rajasthan lies to the southwest of the northern plains. The Aravalli Hills divide it into two parts. The western part is a big desert and the land is covered with sand. This is called the Great Indian Desert or the Thar Desert. It forms a boundary between India and Pakistan. About 85% of the Thar Desert is in India and the remaining part is in Pakistan. The Thar Desert is the most densely populated desert in the world, with a population density of 83 people per square kilometer.
It is the largest desert in India. Jodhpur, Jaisalmer, Barmer, etc. are some major cities of the Thar Desert.
Jaipur is the capital city of Rajasthan. It is also called the Pink City. The Indian desert extends from Aravalli Hills to the border of Pakistan in the west and from Rann of Kutch in the southwest to the border of Haryana and Punjab plains. The Indian desert is partly sandy and partly rocky. Jodhpur is the largest city in the desert. Deserts receive very little rainfall and so they are very dry and sandy.
And for height, before independence, Rajasthan was known as the Rajputana. It is the largest state area-wise.
Brain tickler. Name the world's largest desert. Luni is a large river of the Thar Desert. Climate of the region. Desert is a flat area covered with a thick sheet of loose sand. At some places there are small hills of sand called sand dunes. These sand dunes may rise to a height of 500 feet. Hot and dry winds blow here, and thus the sand dunes keep shifting all the time. Dust storms are common in the months of May and June. In the desert areas, the summer season is very hot, up to 50 degrees Celsius, and the winters are very cold, 1 degree Celsius to 10 degrees Celsius. After the sun sets, the sand cools down quickly, and thus the nights are very cold.
There is hardly any rainfall, and thus vegetation is scarce.
Life in the region. Women wear a long skirt called ghagra, choli or kurti, blouses and tops with an odini. The turban called pagdi, pajamas, angarkha, dhoti, waistband, patka, and kamarband are integral clothing of men. Some people travel from one place to another in search of food and water, so they are called banjaras. Houses have flat roofs and small windows. The walls are thick to keep the heat out and let the house remain cool. The languages spoken are Sindhi, Marwari, Rajasthani, and Hindi. Ghumar is a traditional folk dance of Rajasthan. It is performed by women. There are no permanent rivers and only some small streams exist, which are usually dry. They start flowing only when it rains. Rain tickler. In which district of Rajasthan does the sun shine the longest in the month of June? Info Hive. Sambar Salts Lake is the largest lake in Rajasthan. Jaisalmer Fort is one of the largest forts of the world. Vegetation. Vegetation is limited to scattered thorny bushes. It is difficult to build roads and railway lines in a desert. The camel is the chief mode of transportation. It is called the ship of the desert. Camels can live for days without food and water. They are also used to plow the fields and draw water from wells. Camel hair is used to make clothes and good quality paint brushes, and its skin to make tents. Water is generally scarce, but at a few places the underground water comes up to the surface and forms big pools. Such a place is called an oasis. Some trees like date palms, kikar, babool and grass grow in the oasis. Small villages also develop around an oasis. Info Hive. Rajasthan means abode of the kings. Info Hive. Desert Festival of Jaisalmer is a colorful festival held in the month of February every year. Development in the region. The soil in the desert is quite fertile, but it is difficult to grow crops because there is little or no water. The situation is now changing. The government is making serious efforts to improve the life of the people in the desert areas. Indira Gandhi Canal has been constructed to carry water from the confluence of rivers Satluj and Beas to the most arid regions of the state. Besides providing water for agriculture, the canal supplies drinking water to hundreds of people in far-flung areas. A big farm has already been developed at Suratgarh in Rajasthan. The blooming of the desert has begun. Deserts are generally formed because of shortage of water in a place. But humans are also responsible for creating a desert. If we destroy the forest and allow the cattle, sheep and goats to graze the grasslands faster than they can produce fresh grass, the land becomes a desert. Cutting down of forest and overgrazing of grassland must be controlled. We can do it by planting trees and shrubs and keeping the land covered with grasses. We can grow many types of crops by using the limited water resources properly. This will help in improving the life of the people in the desert areas. Info Hive. Soil erosion due to wind is very common in deserts. Info Hive. The Palace on Wheels is a famous luxury tourist train of India in Rajasthan. Recap. The Great Indian Desert lies to the northwest of the northern plains. The soil in the desert is quite fertile, but it is difficult to grow crops because there is little or no water. At a few places, the underground water comes up to the surface and forms big pools. Such a place is called an oasis. The Indian desert extends from Aravalli Hills to the border of Pakistan in the west, and from Rann of Kutch in the southwest to the border of Haryana. Cutting down of forest and overgrazing of grassland must be controlled to prevent desertification. Life skills. You should not water the plants with a hose. A lot of water goes waste this way. But I do it this way only. I put the hose down and let the water flow for some time. Meanwhile, I am free to do other things. Try to water plants with the help of a sprinkler. This way, a lot of water can be saved. Thank you, Ajay, for the idea. I will certainly use a sprinkler from now on. Water is precious. Save water, save life. Values for life. We must honor our country's tradition of welcoming guests. Atithi Devo Bhava. Guest is God.